This is your coffee break on the HAN Network. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rob Adams. Welcome to Wednesday on your coffee break as we reach the hump day of the work week. Kate Chaplinsky with the week off, but I'm glad to be along with you. We've got another sticky day outside, so you've got to be very mindful of the conditions as we move along through this Wednesday. It is, of course, now September the 9th, 2015. We'll take a look at a little bit of everything over the next half hour. We'll get you your weather. We'll get you all the information you need to get you through. A mostly sunny day, 89 degrees. We will check on more in the forecast in just a couple of minutes. But we'll start with the headlines. The case of a missing couple, Jeffrey and Jeanette Navin, has taken a dramatic turn as their son, Kyle Navin, 27 years old, was arrested Tuesday on a federal gun charge. Details in the 15-page affidavit in support of the arrest warrant paint a picture of Kyle Navin as an alleged drug user who allegedly lied to police about his last contact with his parents. Navin was charged in U.S. District Court in Bridgeport on Tuesday, September 8th, with possession of a firearm by an individual who was an unlawful user of or addicted to any controlled substance. The charge carries a maximum term of imprisonment of 10 years. The arrest warrant affidavit, written by FBI Special Agent Michael Zook, states that on August 13th, investigators conducted a court-authorized search of Kyle Navin's residence on Aldine Avenue in Bridgeport and seized 2 firearms and numerous rounds of ammunition from his bedroom. On August 19th, law enforcement conducted a second search of Navin's residence and located and seized items indicative of substance abuse, including numerous heroin brand stamped glassine baggies with heroin residue, hypodermic needles, empty prescription bottles for oxycodone, and prescription bottles containing other controlled substances. The warrant alleges that investigators conducted a court-authorized search of Kyle Navin's cell phone and reviewed numerous text messages that discuss Navin's use of heroin, oxycodone, and Xanax. In their search, police discovered a receipt from Home Depot issued on August 5th showing that Kyle Navin purchased germicidal bleach, hair and grease drain opener, Goo Gone stain remover, and contractor cleanup bags. Investigators also recovered a receipt from a firearms shooting range that was issued on August 5th. This case revolves around the sudden disappearance of Jeffrey Navin, 56, and 55-year-old Jeanette Navin of Easton, who were reported missing on August 7th by Laura Thompson and Annie Navin, the wife of Jeffrey Navin's brother, William. Jeffrey Navin is the owner of J&J Refuse, a Westport sanitation company. Kyle Navin is the company's operations manager. Jeanette Navin is a longtime employee of Weston Public Schools. The couple had lived on Osborne Farm Road in Weston since 1994, but sold that house and moved to a rental home in Easton in June. You can read a lot more about this arrest, including the complete 15-page warrant, at thewestonforum.com. Just getting things going on your Wednesday coffee break. We turn our attention now to Shelton, where a former teacher in Shelton has been charged with disorderly conduct after one of his students told police he took her to dinner, then tried to kiss her lips. 57-year-old George Perduta of Kensington surrendered to police Tuesday to face a disorderly conduct charge. Police said back in April, a 17-year-old girl attending Shelton High School told police she went out to dinner with Perduta, a teacher at the school at the time. She told police Perduta asked about their relationship status during dinner and made her uncomfortable. She also told police that after dinner, he tried to kiss her on the lips, but she moved her head and the kiss landed on her forehead. Perduta was released on $500 bond and is due in court in Derby later this month. Firefighters in Bridgeport are on the scene of a blaze on Berkshire Avenue near Orchard Street. 2 aerial ladders are being used to douse what remains of the fire, which caused heavy damage to a multi-family house there. As of 9:30 this morning, Berkshire Avenue was still closed to traffic around the scene. Photos and details will be posted at thebridgeportnews.com. There's a second day of early school closings due to the heat. Schools letting out early include those in Stamford, Bridgeport, Notre Dame of West Haven, O'Brien Tech in Ansonia, Platt Tech in Milford. As I mentioned, the Stamford schools now, including Trinity Catholic, Trumbull, and now West Haven as well. On your Wednesday coffee break, little overcast outside. Wilton 2nd Selectman Jim Sachs resigned during the Board of Selectmen meeting on Tuesday. Sachs said his work was preventing him from putting in the time he felt a good selectman should put in on the board. He is an executive with AT&T. Sachs served for 13 years on the Wilton Board of Selectmen, the Board of Ed, and the Library Board. First Selectman Bill Brennan said selectmen will contact the Wilton Republican Town Committee to nominate a replacement appointee. He expressed hope that could be done at the next meeting, which is scheduled for September 21st. Staying in Wilton, the Police Commission has recommended to the Board of Selectmen that Interim Chief Robert Crosby be made Chief of Wilton Police. Michael Lombardo, the previous chief, left the department on January 1st to head up Trumbull's agency. Immediately following Lombardo's departure, Deputy Chief Crosby took over in his stead for the time it would take the Wilton Police Commission to search for and find a new chief. Crosby is a 31-year veteran of the Wilton Police Force. In a quote, "Bob went to Wilton High School. He's been in town for years and years. A born and bred Wilton guy," added Mr. Weldon. The Board of Selectmen will discuss the terms of the position in an executive session at its meeting on September 8th, according to Weldon. If the board decides to promote Crosby, it will not be the first time Wilton has named a chief from within its own ranks. Lombardo was a captain in Wilton when he filled the retired Chief Edward Kahalik's position, in 2010. He had also risen through Wilton ranks. Moving now down to New Canaan, the First Selectman Rob Malazzi announced that he will not participate in the only scheduled candidates debate forum in advance of the November town election because he does not want to associate his office with petitioning candidate Michael Nowacki, who is also on the board for First Selectman, on the ballot, In a quote, Mr. Malazzi said, "I will not give him the forum nor associate this office with him in any way, shape, or form," he told the HAN's New Canaan Advertiser. Nowacki's MO is to break things down and destroy to get his way, the First Selectman said. In more of a quote, "This office works diligently to do the opposite. This office problem solves, works with various groups, many with different ideas on how to get things accomplished, and strives to credit all of those citizens that add their time and ideas to the fine community New Canaan is." The candidates debate night forum is set for Monday, October 19th at 6:30 at Town Hall. It is organized and moderated by the New Canaan League of Women Voters and sponsored by the Advertiser. Nowacki satisfied the petitioning requirement set by the state of Connecticut to be on the New Canaan ballot for First Selectman. His candidacy is not affiliated with a political party. Nowacki is known most recently for undertaking numerous investigations in and around New Canaan town government and Board of Education in an effort to prove wrongdoing. Updating a story we brought you yesterday about a plane sliding off the runway at Sikorsky Airport in Stratford. Stephen Ford, the airport's superintendent of operations, said the plane was a single-engine Piper Comanche aircraft that was attempting to land at the airport's runway 29 at about 1:15 on Labor Day. The plane, he said, was headed into a crosswind, causing the aircraft to do a ground loop where it spun around. Ford said the aircraft's gear collapsed because of the spinout. One person was on board and he got out of the plane without injury, according to Mr. Ford. There were no fuel leaks or fire, he said. The plane was towed to the three-wing aviation hangar. The airport was reopened at 2:59 p.m. Ford said he was unsure where the pilot was coming from. Just about 10 past as we get you through this edition of Coffee Break for a Wednesday morning. Kate with the week off, resting up from our RV tour from last week, which we all needed a little rest from, but certainly a good and busy week for all of us that really stretched roughly 10 days, roughly 7 business days, but you get the idea. We had the RV for quite a while, and it was a lot of fun to be out there. Visited 16 of the 17 schools in the FCAC with tons of interviews. Went out to do a little antiquing in Stratford. Visited over at the Oyster Fest down in Norwalk. So busy time for all of us, and more stuff coming up. We'll tell you a little more in sports because we've got some games coming up this weekend as we finally get back to doing some live play-by-play. A quick look at your forecast now as we glance outside. We've got a mostly sunny day. Highs in the upper 80s with a south wind from 5 to 10 tonight. 69 and mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Those showers will be mainly after midnight. As I said, it'll be a humid night, lows in the upper 60s. For Thursday, showers with a chance of thunderstorms likely, highs in the mid-70s, a northeast wind around 5 and a chance of rain 60%. For Thursday night, more showers, locally heavy rainfall will be possible, a low in the mid-60s and mostly cloudy with a chance of showers in the morning on Friday and 77, 60 and partly cloudy for Friday night. We have 85 in Darien, only 75 here in Shelton. Ridgefield has 78. We'll pause for a moment. We've got the great Donald Eng coming up in a few moments with your history look. A quick glance at sports, not a whole lot to talk about, but we'll keep promoting what's coming up this weekend on the HAN Network, and lots more as we get you through a Wednesday edition of your Coffee Break. We'll continue right after this on the HAN Network.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
The long winter is finally astern. Bait is invading the harbors, coves, and inlets. Stripers, fluke, and porgies are on the move. In the streams and lakes, trout, smallmouth, largemouth, and walleye have moved out of hibernation. At the dock shop, it's all systems go. And now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, and their newest location at 609 Riverside Avenue in Westport. Bait, tackle, apparel, and of course, all the marine and nautical accessories that they're known for are ready for you at the dock shop. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Visit us at dockshop.com.
The 2015 high school sports season is off and running, and the HAN Network is the place for live video streaming play-by-play. This is Rob Adams. We'll have all of the action beginning Friday night at 6:50 in Yorktown Heights, New York, as the Huskers of Yorktown High host the John Jay Indians. Saturday afternoon at 12:50, Weston travels to play Notre Dame of Fairfield in the opener for both squads. It's all from your home for high school sports live video, the HAN Network.
Back with you on your Coffee Break Wednesday morning. I'm Rob Adams. AJ and Sharon on the other side of the quote-unquote glasses, you might say, in the trade, although no glass, so I could hit them with something if I really wanted to. But warm day outside. Again, some schools going to shut down a little early due to this just very hot start to the school year that we're having. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on HAN.network as well as elsewhere throughout our chain, the tweets and the newspaper sites as well, including a newspaper edited by my friend over here to the right, Donald Eng. You are here with some history.
I am here with some history. We go back to a hot summer. It was the beginning of a national conversation on how the government cares for those in its custody, and it began with dozens of fatalities. But first, 490 BC, on this day, the Battle of Marathon takes place between the invading Persian army and the Athenians. The badly outnumbered Athenians decisively defeat the invaders, in the process saving democracy from crib death. The legend of Messenger Phidippides running 26.2 miles back to Athens to inform the citizens of the victory is historically unlikely, but it did form the basis of the marathon athletic event first run at the 1896 Olympics from Marathon to Athens. 1543, Mary Stuart, age 9 months, crowned Queen of Scots in the central Scottish town of Stirling. 1776, the Continental Congress officially renames the Union of Sovereign States the United States. They had previously been calling themselves the United Colonies, but the concept was The concept was to have independent nations loosely allied, similar to the European Union of today. Within a decade, though, the Founding Fathers realized that the independent colonies and states were far too small, and the Constitutional Convention of 1787 created the modern USA. 1947, if you're listening to us on your laptop, this is important. A moth lodges in the relay of a Harvard Mark II computer at the university, causing the computer to shut down. Grace Hopper, who had coded guidance programs during World War II, found and removed the moth, the first person ever to debug a computer glitch. Hopper, by the way, achieved the rank of Rear Admiral in the Navy Reserve, and the guided U.S. missile destroyer USS Hopper is named for her. And finally, 1971, there was this.
Attica was the turning point in America for a spotlight on prisons and what was taking place in prisons, because of the number of people that was killed, because of the way in which it was done, and because of the voices that came out of Attica, which were voices that previously had not been heard.
When I first entered prison in the 40s, Attica was famed for being impregnable. No way could you do anything with Attica because it was 4 different yards and they were separated. And these guys did do something.
As a member
prison riots, eventually resulting in 39 killed, most of them by state troopers retaking the prison. The prisoners had earlier sought arbitration for the deplorable conditions in the prison, including overcrowding, lack of educational programs, and a lack of adequate health care. The Attica prison riot, which eventually took the lives of 39 men, began on this day, 1971. That's your look back in history, and I'm Donald Ng.
And I love whenever we have a chance to do a quick this date in sports history, and we haven't done it in a while. And to me, September the 9th has a little bit, now maybe selfishly, but a couple of things that I wanted to throw out there. 1979, Tracy Austin, 16 years old, becomes the youngest player to win the U.S. Open women's tennis title, Don. 1984, we all remember, if you're a football fan, Walter Payton of the Bears broke Jim Brown's combined yardage record when he reaches 15,517 yards. Nolan Ryan got his 45th, 100th strikeout in 1987. Los Angeles prosecutors announced on this day in 1994 they would not seek the death penalty against O.J. Simpson. Among other things that I wanted to mention, and we won't go too crazy, Barry Bonds hit 3 home runs on this day in 2001 to reach 63. And in 1965, if I had it queued up, there's no video that exists of it. There's only audio that exists. It only exists of the 9th inning. Sandy Koufax pitches the 8th perfect game in Major League Baseball history. And, of course, if you were listening, and I get chills, it's the most magnificent 10 minutes of play-by-play ever. Vince Scully with the call on KFI Radio.
No death penalty for OJ, huh?
No.
Is that getting a little bit ahead of yourselves there? Can you get a guilty verdict first before you decide whether you're going to execute him? I'm just saying. It seems like it just seems a little bit premature to say, to take the death penalty off the table. Oh,
I guess not. But going back to that Koufax perfect game, so many great lines from that 9th inning when he says against the Cubs, which was only a 1-0 game, and it was an unearned run, the difference in the ball game. 29,000 and a million butterflies. That was the crowd there that night at Dodger Stadium. Great call. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. We continue on your coffee break. We jump back into some headlines now. But before we do, we'll stay in the sports mode for just a moment because we will tell you, of course, all about what's coming up this weekend. We'll have coffee break, we'll have Nutmeg Sports with Don and I a little bit later today. Still more of the videos and the interviews that we conducted on our HAN Cruiser Tour. But we'll also be getting set up for Friday, our big broadcast to kick things off. We will be out at Yorktown High School in New York. Now, Connecticut hasn't quite kicked things off yet entirely, but we do have the Lewisboro Ledger, which covers New York, and that's where the John Jay Indians are from. So, as a result, we'll get to see the Indians, which we don't get to do a whole lot of because of the conflicting schedules. So we'll go to Yorktown on Friday. We'll have a good time out there seeing the Huskers as they take on the John Jay Indians. We'll have the call for you at 6:50 pregame show on Friday night. Then on Saturday, we will go over to Notre Dame of Fairfield, and we'll watch the Western Trojans as they take on the aforementioned Notre Dame of Fairfield. That is 1 o'clock on Saturday with a 12:50 pregame show. On this sunny day, we hope it's going to get a little sunnier, a little overcast right now outside, and heading toward 89 degrees, just 75 right now in Shelton. But let's now jump back into the headlines, and we'll go back to Wilton for a little bit. This bobcat was caught by a game camera in Wilton last week. It first appeared on the Facebook page of Connecticut Fish and Wildlife, and it was shared by Rich Conklin. Bobcats have become more and more common in this area, so much so the state's Department of Energy and Environmental Protection launched a population project specifically for bobcats earlier this year. In a quote, "We averaged 75 sightings through the late 90s, and then that number went up to around 115 reports back about 10 years ago, according to Paul Rigo, a deep wildlife biologist. It's been a pretty steady increase over the past 20 years, he said, to end the quote. Besides sightings in nature, Mr. Rigo said DEEP has gotten, DEEP of course, has gotten more reports about bobcats getting struck by vehicles and more calls about them attacking pets, specifically cats. To Ridgefield now. Expect traffic delays on Route 35 just north of the Ridgefield Business District for long-awaited bridge work scheduled to start Friday. The Ridgefield Police Department posted a traffic alert for the fall season on Route 35 as a bridge replacement project on Danbury Road takes place in phases near the south entrance of Fox Hill condominiums. The initial phase of the work is from Friday, September 11th through mid-November. Expect delays in that area of Danbury Road due to one-lane alternating traffic from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday, according to Ridgefield Police Captain Jeffrey Kreitz, spokesman for the department. The road already gets pretty congested during rush hour. After the initial phase of the project, traffic will flow in both directions at all times during the remainder of the work. Work is scheduled to start on the replacement of the initial superstructure in mid-November and should be completed by May 26th of 2017, according to Detective Kreitz. During the initial phase of construction, a temporary roadway and bridge will be built to maintain traffic flow in both directions, he said. Moving on to Reading now on your coffee break. The Gilbert and Bennett Wire Mill has a long history in Georgetown, the village where the towns of Reading, Wilton, and Weston meet near the junctions of routes 7, 107, and 57. And the property it once stood on is expected to substantially increase the value of the area in the future. But when will the future come? The wire mill was built in 1863 to provide facilities for drawing iron wire. Gilbert and Bennett Company became the first in the country to manufacture and market galvanized wire cloth. For many years, the company also manufactured all the poultry netting made in the United States. In 1989, the factory stopped production and shut down. In 2002, the town sold the tax liens to the Georgetown Land Development Corporation for $1 million. The status of the project at the Gilbert and Bennett wire mill site, stalled since 2008, remains largely unchanged. In 2014, the State Department of Economic Development approved a $5.6 million grant to the Georgetown Special Taxing District, $2 million to reconstruct the river walls, and $3.6 million to complete intersection work. To date, the Georgetown Special Taxing District has not been able to meet the terms of the grant to secure the funding and begin the work. In recent months, the town of Reading sent letters to GLDC and JP Industrial Park, LLC, demanding payment of back taxes. At that point, JP Industrial did remit payments to the town in the amount of around $77,000 for back taxes for two small parcels of land within the taxing district. However, the large balance outstanding from GLDC has not been paid and has continued to accrue, according to First Selectman Julia Pemberton in a recent interview. In July, after multiple meetings with owners and creditors and with unpaid property taxes, interest, and lien fees totaling more than $2.8 million, the town filed for foreclosure in Danbury Superior Court. There are 14 named defendants in the case and 3 plaintiffs, the town of Reading, the Georgetown Fire District, and the Reading Water Pollution Commission. The defendants are in the process of filing their responses, and continuances have been granted to some of the defendants until the first week in October. According to Pemberton, the town's goals are twofold: to protect the interests of the taxpayers of the town of Reading and to clear the path for a viable Georgetown project in the future. The 50-plus acre site is a brownfield. Despite this, Pemberton added when the master plan was originally adopted, the project was estimated to be, quote, revenue positive to the tune of $5 million annually. On Wednesday, September 30th, the town of Reading will be hosting a forum on this topic at the Reading Community Center. The public is encouraged to attend. There will be a presentation by experts in the preservation and redevelopment of historic mills, and the town will be given an update on the status of the court action. To Bridgeport now. Bridgeport Mayor Bill Finch and Governor Daniel Malloy Tuesday announced that construction will soon begin on the vacant, blighted 5-story industrial block in Bridgeport's west side, creating more than 400 jobs and serving as home to 157 new residential units as a school. Finch said the project will create more than 400 new jobs. The development will be built in 2 phases. Phase 1 will consist of 157 residential units, the new 65,000 square foot Great Oaks Charter School, and 40,000 square feet of outdoor recreational space. In the early 20th century, the buildings were home to the American Gramophone Company. Construction is set to begin in January 2016. It is expected to take 20 to 24 months to complete. As we look outside, well, we're getting a little more sun out there. I'm feeling a little better about things. But all that being said, it's still a hot and humid day. 89 for the high, mostly cloudy, and 69 tonight with a chance of showers and thunderstorms mainly after midnight. Showers likely for Thursday, 77, high in the mid-70s. Showers and locally heavy rainfall possible Thursday night, 65 for the low. 77, mostly cloudy, a chance of showers in the morning on Friday. Darien has 85, Shelton has 75, and Ridgefield has 78 degrees. I haven't forgotten about talking transportation. We're going to get to Jim Cameron in just a moment as we step out on your coffee break. We continue right after this on the HAN Network.
Carl Chevrolet is proud to sponsor HAN Network's coverage of the area's best high school sports. No matter the sport, competition in the FCIAC is spirited, so get out and cheer on your favorite team. If you can't make it to the game, be sure to bring HAN Network with you to keep up with the action. Visit Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
Kycote Rockefeller Estate is Westchester County's top cultural attraction and is now open for the season. Don't miss out. Go online to hudsonvalley.org to plan your visit. Take a drive out to beautiful Sleepy Hollow, New York, and enjoy Kycote's stunning architecture, breathtaking gardens, expansive art galleries, and commanding Hudson River views. From world-class art by Picasso and Warhol to expertly tended gardens, there's something for everyone. Kycote Rockefeller Estate, a National Trust for Historic Preservation landmark. Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com. Enjoy an autumn afternoon in the garden at the Garden House at Keeler Tavern Museum, 132 Main Street, Ridgefield, for Sweets and Sips, Sunday, September 20th from 1 to 4 p.m. Relax in our beautiful garden setting and enjoy classical music as you sample items from local bakeries, chocolatiers, sweet shops, and restaurants. Wine tasting provided by the area's best liquor stores, wine vendors, and local wineries. Sweets and Sips, presented by Hersom Acorn. Join us for a sweet time. For more information and to purchase tickets, please visit hersomacorn.events/Sweets and Sips.
The 2015 high school sports season is off and running, and the HAN Network is the place for live video streaming play-by-play. This is Rob Adams. We'll have all of the action beginning Friday night at 6:50 in Yorktown Heights, New York, as the Huskers of Yorktown High host the John Jay Indians. Saturday afternoon at 12:50, Weston travels to play Notre Dame of Fairfield in the opener for both squads. It's all from your home for high school sports live video, the HAN Network.
And indeed, that is what's coming up this weekend on the HAN Network, leading us into more games next week, and then our first big FCIAC football game a week from Friday as we go to Ridgefield High School. We'll also have full game day coverage Whole crew out there ready to go as we kick off the 2015 football season in the FCIAC. My partner Chris Irway will be back from a vacation, and we'll get it going. Very excited, looking forward to it. That's next week. New Canaan and Ridgefield, part of a big night to kick off the FCIAC football season right here on the HAN Network. But talking transportation, we are happy to do so with Jim Cameron, and we bring it to you every week on Wednesday, and we're ready to go. With all that said, as we head off to Jim, I will say goodbye. So for all of us here at the HAN Network, Eric Gendron, we've got Sharon and AJ across the line, and myself included, the whole crew. I'll see you at 2 o'clock with Donald Eng for Nutmeg Sports. I'm Rob Adams. Enjoy talking transportation, and we'll see you tomorrow on Coffee Break on the HAN Network.
For the interests of train commuters. This amazing piece of news about Barnum, a man better known for his showmanship and menageries, came to me while watching a speech at the old State House in Hartford, broadcast on CTN, every policy wonk's favorite TV channel. The speaker was executive director and curator of the Barnum Museum, Kathleen Mayer. She explained that Barnum was more than a showman. He was also a railroad advocate. He also went on to be part owner of the Cross Sound ferry boat service that's still running today from Bridgeport. In 1879, Barnum wrote an impassioned letter to the New York Times promoting a street railway be built in New York City along Broadway between Bleecker and 14th Streets, enlisting the support of local merchants such as the Brooks Brothers and the Carpet Men, W&J Sloan. Earlier, in 1865, Barnum went to Hartford as an elected representative from the town of Fairfield, as a Republican as well. Later, he even became mayor of Bridgeport, and as he writes in his autobiography, he arrived at the state capitol to find that the powerful railroad interests had conspired to elect a Speaker of the House who had protected their monopoly interests in the state. He also found that Connecticut's Railroad Commission had been similarly ensnared by the industry it was supposed to regulate, and that one member was even a clerk in the office of the New York and New Haven Railroad. Barnum pushed through a bill prohibiting such obvious conflicts of interest. Then he turned his sights to helping commuters. Barnum noted that New York railroad magnate Commodore Vanderbilt's new rail line, now the Hudson and Harlem divisions of Metro-North, were becoming quite popular with affluent commuters moving to the suburbs. But once Vanderbilt had them hooked as passengers for their daily ride in and out of New York City, he jacked up the fares 200 to 400%. Sensing that Vanderbilt might do the same to Connecticut riders on the new New Haven line, in which the Commodore had a strong financial interest, Barnum set to work in the legislature to make sure that the state had some control over its railroad. Barnum said his only ally in the fight was then State Senator Ballard of Darien. So spirited were they in lobbying that the railroad's lobbyist on the State Railroad Commission, quote, took to his bed some 10 days before the end of the session and actually remained there sick until the legislature adjourned. Fast forward to today, and we could again use Mr. Barnum's help. Though Connecticut hires Metro-North to run our trains on our tracks, our contract with that New York state agency gives us little say and no seat on its board. As one lawmaker noted, the Connecticut Department of Transportation defends Metro-North much like a kidnap victim fights for its captor, what he called the Stockholm Syndrome. Jim Cameron for Talking Transportation.